The Corzine administration has introduced a series of proposals to reform the cleanup of thousands of contaminated sites around the state. The reforms were introduced at a legislative hearing. Environment correspondent Ed Rogers has the story.
It was cases like a Gloucester County daycare center where mercury contamination was discovered in 2006 and the shipment of contaminated soil from a former Ford plant in Edison to housing projects in 3 counties that led to the call for the changes. State environmental officials say they have a backlog of 20,000 cases and need to make changes to streamline the site cleanup process. The DEP says it wants to adopt a program similar to one in Massachusetts where licensed site consultants oversee the cleanups.
They can be held more accountable, environmental consultants, for the work that they provide to the department so that we can, for the first time ever, actually take enforcement action against a consultant for the product or lack of compliance with regulations.
But environmentalists and some lawmakers are concerned that the consultants who oversee the cleanups and are paid by the property owners and responsible parties might come under pressure to cut corners. At today's hearing, the chairman of the Senate Environment Committee said some changes might be needed, including setting up escrow accounts for the consultants.
I'm a little worried that the ethical firewall is broken down, that the professional may be subject to some influence or pressure from the applicant in order to get paid. So I'd appreciate if you'd rethink that a little bit.
The DEP also came under criticism for proposing a change to the so-called permanent cleanup standard to what's being called an enhanced standard for some residential sites.
For an enhanced cleanup would mean you may remove some hot spots or do some soil blending but still cap it. What we'd like to see where children are going to live or go to school, that you actually remove the contaminants and bring in clean fill.
Another recommendation calls for expanding the so-called kitty college law to also notify local planning and health officials when a property's use changes from industrial to residential. An organization representing 20 companies engaged in cleanup and development projects says reforms that speed up the process are needed.
There's a lot of examples where a business decision is made whether or not they can buy a piece of property, get it through the cleanup, what is the remediation responsibility at that site, and if there's no certainty, predictability, the investors may not want to invest in that piece of property. And that could mean jobs that we lose, and that could mean development that we don't have.
Lawmakers hope to get a bill making the changes approved by this summer or early fall. Ed Rogers, NJN News, Trenton.